welcome back to the show. We have St. George's Episcopal Church here with Reverend Pat and Joyce. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So nice to
have you here. We've got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to learn more about this Selma event. What is the Selma event? Can you tell us?
So we decided to have an event commemorating the 60th anniversary of the historic Civil Rights March from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, that really paved the way for the passage of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. Mm-hmm. So this year represents the 60th anniversary since then. It's going to be at 2 o'clock on Saturday, April 5th at the church, which is located at 23802 Avenida de la Carlota. And it's going to be a multi-faith and community event. So we're inviting everybody to come and participate. There'll be gospel music, there'll be food and fellowship and prayer and praise, and just really a time for the community to gather together and get to know one another.
So you've got 6 stations.
So it's going to be an outdoor and an indoor event. So outside it's going to be gathering, there'll be a call to prayer, call to worship. We'll have like 6 different locations set up, and each location will represent someone who heroically gave their lives in this effort to pass the Voting Rights Act and to allow African Americans in Alabama at that time to be able to vote. Mm-hmm. So for example, Station 1 is going to be dedicated to Jimmy Lee Jackson, who was a young man who was killed, and his death actually galvanized the community and brought about the idea to have a march. And he was a young man. He and his mother and his grandfather had participated in a demonstration earlier to protest the arrest of someone from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They were all, at that time gathered to try to let local officials give them the right to vote, let them register to vote, really. And so they had gathered at a local cafe, and state troopers were beating the protesters. And Jimmy Lee Jackson, a young man, tried to protect his mom and his grandfather, and he was shot and killed. Wow. And so, but we're also making the connections between then and now, and sort of some of the things that are happening in society today. So Station 1 is called I Can't Breathe, and it will also be dedicated to Eric Garner. And you might remember that maybe 5 years ago, he was killed in New York City by law enforcement officials. And he was the first person that said, I can't breathe. And that became kind of like a rallying cry to galvanize the community there, because he had been held in an illegal chokehold by law enforcement at the time. So,
I see.
So that's like just one example, but there will be 6 stations. I can kind of mention some of the other ones. There was, let me just check my notes here.
We have Station 5, Say Her Name.
Yeah.
We came up with the same one.
Yeah, Say Her Name. Station 5 is dedicated to Jonathan Daniels. Was an Episcopal seminarian, and he answered the call to go south and to work for voting rights. And he was murdered trying to protect Ruby Sales, who was a young woman who was also protesting at that time. Ruby Sales went on to become, she went on to go to an Episcopal seminary. She became a social activist, and she also has created an institution dedicated to voting rights and civil rights. And so the Station 5 is dedicated to both of them, but also to, I don't know if anybody be able to see this, but there's this collage, and it's like all the women of African descent who have been killed by law enforcement.
Wow.
And it's like we're going to say their names, like Kendra James, Pearlie Golden, Renisha McBride. All these women's names will be saying that day, just to honor and to commemorate them.
Mm-hmm. So. Absolutely. Well, that's a wonderful thing you guys are doing.
Oh, and then that's the outdoor part. Then we'll move. We're going to sort of simulate. Joyce might want to talk about this a little bit. We're going to have like a simulation of the actual bridge, which will be on our campus. And when we get to Station 6, which will be the last station, we'll be singing "We Shall Overcome," the signature song of the Civil Rights Movement. celebration. And we'll go across this bridge and enter into the church hall. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah. So we have kind of a reenactment of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And so for us to be able to be social activists, to feel what it might have felt like, to walk through that bridge and make a commitment for racial and social justice. And how do we do that today in 2025? Because those issues are still very much alive. And as people of faith, how do we stand together in community and work together as a body of believers from all faiths, from all houses of worship? That this is a call for all of us to have action, that we can't sit on our hands. And yes, it's lovely to say that we think about people and that we pray for things, but we need to do something. And that is what Reverend Pat has really helped create this program, that we can honor what happened then and what do we do now.
And then once we're inside, there will be gospel music, and there's this wonderful video that was made talking to not the dignitaries and the people whose names are always associated with the civil rights movement, but the young people who were organizing and mobilizing at the time, some of them in high school and junior high school, but who went out into the streets to protest. And they talked to them, they show clips from then, historic clips, but they also talk to them now, and they're reflecting about what happened, what motivated them. And so this video is called The Way to Freedom, and it was done by the National Park Service. So we'll hear different segments of that, and then after each segment, there will be a response from a community leader, and then there'll be one of the songs that they sang during that time, too. Like, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around, or This Little Light of Mine. So it's gonna be a wonderful day.
Sounds like an amazing event. Now, do people need to RSVP for this event?
Yes, and I think I sent you, there's like a Breeze link, which I made.
There's the, there's the St. George's.beach link.
Yes,
It's a pretty long link, so we'll list it for our viewers.
Thank you. There's no charge, everything's free, there'll be food. We'd like for people to RSVP so we can plan for food, appropriate food. So,
sure,
yeah.
sure. So is this going to be an all-day event? What's the timeline for this event?
It starts at 2 p.m., it'll go till 5 p.m.
Oh, that's not very long. I mean, you've got a lot going on for such a short period of time.
It may go longer, who knows? And it'll be, like I said, a multi-faith event, so we'll have representatives from the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, from Baha'i, as well as community activists, people that are actively involved in the voting rights and other issues, social issues of the day.
All right. Well, with that, we thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
If any of you want to go to the Selma event, we'll leave the link on the screen, and you can join these lovely ladies doing that. We'll be back after these messages. You're watching This Day on Village TV.